Did I mention I hate snow? It snowed again last night. This time it's more powdery, but it was only about an inch of snow. But whatever. Hate it. Anyway, let's go to work, Bruce. Oh, more slidey today. So, Milo Yiannopoulis got a book deal with Simon Schuster. It's kind of a big deal. I've been watching Milo Yiannopoulis' Dangerous Faggot tour for, I don't know, since he pretty much since he started it. And I really like his stuff. I like him because he's a Jimmy wrestler. He likes to provoke. He's a provocateur. And yeah, so he got a book deal with Simon & Schuster. The word is that he got a $250,000 advance on a book that's being released on March 14th, I think it is. Anyway, I pre-ordered it on Amazon because I got some Amazon gift cards, so I pre-ordered his book. I ordered Lawrence Southern's new book, Barbarians, and I also ordered Woodland Scenic's hot wire foam cutter because I do crafting. But anyway, so yeah, looking forward to it coming out. There's a lot of butthurt on the internet. Here's the thing about Milo Yiannopoulis. He was banned from Twitter a few months back, right after the Ghostbusters movie came out. Oh, my nose is itchy. Right after the Ghostbusters movie came out. And because there was a twit storm over comments that were made to Leslie Jones. I think that's her name, Leslie Jones, the actress who was in the movie. Now, of course, the internet has said that, you know, he started this thing, and I mean, if you go back and look at the history, he didn't start anything with regards to Leslie Jones' situation. He made a couple of comments. His followers made a bunch of comments. Some of his followers made really nasty, racist comments. But those people should have been banned from Twitter, not Milo Yiannopoulis. But they've been looking for an excuse to ban him. Anyway, so they instituted a lifetime ban. Now, I don't know if they've ever instituted a lifetime ban on anybody else. But Milo Yiannopoulis, who says, you know, crass, crude things, he's a gay conservative, Jew, of all things, and actually he's a practicing Catholic, but was born of a Jewish mother, which by Jewish law makes him a Jew. I think he's born of a Jewish mother. Anyway, he's a practicing Catholic, conservative, gay guy who dates exclusively black men. But now he's being labeled a white supremacist and the leader of the alt-right. Even though he's come out on numerous occasions and said that's a bunch of horseshit. I never claimed to be a member of the alt-right or a leader of the alt-right. As a matter of fact, the alt-right and segments of the alt-right can't stand him because some of the alt-right do actually have bona fide white supremacists and neo-Nazis in their group. So the only thing he's ever been guilty of is actually writing an article about the alt-right, an article that, you know, didn't pull any punches, but also wasn't you know, a smear piece, or it was basically just an examination of the alt-right. As he put it, he gave them a fair hearing in the press. He wrote a fair article about them in the press. Anyway, he's been branded a racist and a misogynist and all sorts of things. But the thing is that people comment on Milo Yiannopoulis without ever having read any of his work or heard any of his work, or without any sense of humor at all. Like, a lot of the stuff he writes for Breitbart, you can tell is a send-up. It's supposed to be a joke, but it's also supposed to, you know, be thought-provoking, right? But people accuse him of all sorts of terrible things. When Hillary Clinton made her speech during the election, made her speech about the alt-right, and that guy in the audience yelled out, "Pepe!" She gave headlines from some Breitbart articles that were written by Milo Yiannopoulis. And people were aghast at some of the titles. But none of them actually ever read any of the actual articles. So if you go and read the articles are, they're kind of insulting, I guess. But not really. I mean, they're more just frank discussions about certain subjects. For instance, what was one of them? Birth control makes women fat, ugly, fat and unattractive, I think. And then he wrote this piece about how the effects of birth control pills and hormone birth control had physiological effects on women's appearance, as well as effects on their mood and effects on all other things, and how that turned them into fat and unattractive people. But anyway, so people say, well, that's misogynistic. Well, no, it's not. It's talking about a certain practice that many women engage in. He's always been one of these people who said, women would be much happier if they got married, had babies, and became homemakers. And he cites statistics from, women were a lot happier, back in the day when they took on traditional gender roles. I mean, the studies are out there. Is that linked to the breakdown of traditional gender roles in society? I don't know, maybe. Does correlation equal causation? Possibly, I don't know. But the studies are there. The problem is when people cite scientific studies in non-scientific papers, so Breitbart, for instance, a lot of times context is lost. I mean, you can take a lot of data and massage it to make it fit your narrative. So I can't say for certain if that's the case. But anyway, yeah, so people are losing their minds on Twitter about this book deal. There's, I think, a Chicago newspaper's review column said they are going to boycott Simon & Schuster publications because they've done this. Okay, so you're going to disenfranchise your readers because you'd personally have an issue with someone they've chosen to publish. That's great. People will just simply stop reading your column. If a book comes out and people were relying on you to give a review and you say, well, we're not going to review this book because it came from a certain publisher, well, they're going to go somewhere else to get that review. So if anything, this publication, this review column, you're only shooting yourself in the foot. You're not doing Simon & Schuster any disservice. And quite frankly, you've shown your cards. So basically, if you were to review Simon & Schuster books going forward, those reviews would be colored by your bias. So maybe you're doing them a favor by not reviewing their books, because it's clear that you can't separate. First off, it's clear that you can't separate your own personal feelings from your job. Second, you don't believe in freedom of the press. You don't believe in freedom of expression, freedom of speech, because you would disenfranchise a bunch of readers, which is essentially saying, you know what? It's not that I don't like to read this. I don't want anyone else to read this, so I'm not going to review it. And this is the problem with busybodies, right? This is the problem with censors, and this is a form of censorship. It's the attitude that I don't like this material, therefore I'm not going to read it, or I don't like the subject matter of this material. I don't like this writer. I don't like the hypothesis that this person puts forward, so I'm not going to read any of his work. or this person wrote something that I don't like, so I'm not going to read anybody's work. That's fine. That's your right. But when you say, I don't like what this person wrote, and I'm going to use my position of authority in the industry to make sure people aren't informed about him, to make sure that nobody will get to read his work, or I'm going to do my best to make sure that nobody gets to read his work. You're engaging in some pretty shitty behavior there, especially for a book critic or book review. It's not on you to make the decisions for other people, especially as a book critic. What you're supposed to do is give an honest and fair appraisal of the work, so that people can decide whether or not it's something they want to read, or whether it's something they're worth reading. Now again, if you let your personal politics interfere with your ability to do your job, you have no business doing that fucking job. Right? In the same way that a woman who issues licenses to couples wishing to get married shouldn't be letting their politics interfere with her ability to do that job, especially when she's a government employee. You working for a newspaper should not be letting your personal politics. You can, I guess, you can have your review be colored by your politics. You can be frank and honest about your politics in your review of that book, but to refuse to review a book because of your politics, that's just gay. That's a whole level of stupidity. And it's weird, it was the Christian conservatives who used to be the moral busybodies who wanted to censor everybody's reading habits and censor everybody's film watching habits, and now it's the progressive left who are doing it. So we've gone full circle, and it's weird because now freedom of speech has become a Republican issue, has become a conservative issue, or a classic liberal issue, if you will. And classic liberals now have more in common with the Republican Party and with conservative thought than the left does and liberals do. It's pretty ridiculous. Anyway, I'm at work now, and I didn't think I'd be able to make 13 minutes out of Milo Yiannopoulis' book deal, but I did. Anyway, like I said before, follow me on Twitter at CraggBragg, CraggBragg, and like and subscribe to this channel if you like. And you can look at my Facebook page, Craig Bragg's Jimmy Wrestling Politics page. Thanks very much. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.